Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to do the end of the year book tag and I was tagged by Joanna, so of course I will link her video down below. We actually both thought that this was a tag that you had to do towards the end of the year, so more in December or something like that, but when you look at the questions it's quite clear that this is more a transitioning into fall book tag, so that's also why I wanted to get it out before it's a little bit too late. Also, before we get into the questions, my dogs are currently inside. Normally I never film when they're inside the house because they can be very noisy, but they were being a little bit too cute outside and they wanted to be inside. So if you hear some barking or strange noises in the background, that's what's happening. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. There are only 6 questions, so this will be a pretty short video normally. And the first question is, are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish before the end of the year? Now, of course, yes, I have 2 books that I'm currently reading. First one is Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. When I started this one, I didn't really know what I thought of it because the first 100 pages are quite info-dumpy, but now I'm really loving it. If it looks like I've been crying, that's because I have. I've been crying so much while reading this book. It's amazing and yeah, I would recommend everybody to pick it up. This has been getting high praise, so it's probably not a surprise that it's actually really good. Then another one that I am currently reading is The Children of Jocasta. This one I am listening to on audiobook. It's a Greek myth retelling. I didn't really know anything about these myths, or the bare minimum you could say, and I'm almost done with this one and again loving it. I'm having a really good reading month. But so those are the ones that I am currently reading. I do have one book that I started a couple of months ago and that I really want to finish before the end of the year. And that is Queen of Fire by Anthony Ryan. So of course the last book in the Raven's Shadow trilogy. I loved Bloodsong. It's one of my all-time favorites. I really like Tower Lord as well, even though it was different from Bloodsong in a way. But then Queen of Fire, I picked it up and my schedule was just too tight. I couldn't finish this book and I had another live show on the way, so I had to just put it down. So what my plan is at the moment is to keep December open for continuations of series and to try to finish as many series as I can in December and to not start any new series that month. So Queen of Fire will definitely be one of the books that I pick up then, because I just want to finish this trilogy and continue with Anthony Ryan's other works, and I also know that I will love Queen of Fire, so why not just finish it. The second question is, do you have any autumnal recommendations or books that are perfect to transition into fall? Now, I do have a video that's fantasy fall recommendations, and I will link that one up above, where I talk about all the cozy reads, because that's something that I really love, that takes place in a magical forest or that has magic systems that's very closely connected to nature. Those are my favorite books, so I did have a lot of recommendations. I didn't have a lot of spooky ones because that's just not what I typically like to read, but for the ones that I haven't read yet and that I do plan to read for myself to transition into the end of the year, I am going to read The Well of Shades by Juliette Merlier, again probably in December, or if I can squeeze it in November already. So this is the last book in the Bride Chronicles by this author. Juliette Merlier is one of my favorite authors, and this one takes place in medieval England, and I think that it's about the history of the Picts, because Bride was a pretty well-known king of the Picts, but of course it also has a lot of fiction in it with romance and stuff like that. But the historical things that should be accurate are accurate, is what I've heard. And this third one is about a man that you already get to know in the first and in the second book, and now he finally gets his happy ending, I hope. That's what I hope. But when I heard that it was about him, I really wanted to pick this one up, and that cover screams fall. No? I really love these old covers, so this is the one that I am going to use to transition into the end of the year. And then the third question, after this one we're already halfway through, and that is, do you have any new releases still in 2021 that you're looking forward to? Now, the only one that I have on my list is actually one that I've won over at Elliot Brooks's channel. She was doing a giveaway for pre-orders and I won, so I was very happy. And I won the, which one is it? Everwood something? Midnight in Everwood. So I was just looking for hopefully standalones or firsts in a series, but not like third ones in a series that I haven't read yet. For example, I have Jade City and Jade War on my physical TBR, but I haven't read them yet. So I'm not going to buy Jade Legacy before I've read those 2, so I didn't want to ask that one. The same for the Bone Shard Daughter. I know that the second one is coming out, but I haven't read the first one yet. So I was looking for a standalone or the first in a series. This is actually a standalone and it's a Nutcracker retelling, if I'm not mistaken. I know that Abby Salter read it and she really enjoyed it, so I'm really looking forward to this one. And again, it's more of a wintry read, I suppose, but especially in December, that's also a great one to transition towards the end of the year. So that's the only one that I'm looking forward to, also because I still have so many 2021 releases that I want to get to that already came out, that I'm not really focusing on new releases just yet, just before I get my physical TBR a little bit lower. The fourth question is, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? So I have a ton. I basically have a sort of schedule for the end of the year. I know what I'm going to read for the rest of October. I know what I'm going to read in November, so a lot of novellas, and I do have some buddy reads as well. And I know that I want to keep December open for continuations of series. So I do have a very loose schedule already, but there are 3 books that I want to read because I want to make a new releases of 2021 video in December for books that came out in 2021 that I think are great, so that if you want to ask some new books for Christmas, those are the ones you want to get. And I do have 3 new releases that I still haven't gotten to yet. So the first one is the Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which is the first in a new series, the Magic of the Lost series. And this is going to be a buddy read together with Stacey's All Booked and some other booktubers, of course, but I think that it will happen on her channel in November. So this one will definitely be read. It's the first in a series. I know that I have a couple of series ongoing, but since I am going to finish off a lot of them in December, I thought it's fine, I can start this one. And then I have 2 standalones that I really want to get to. So the first one is The Counselor by A.J. Beaton. This is, like I said, a fantasy standalone. I know that Patrick really enjoyed this one and that there was a lot of political intrigue, so I definitely need to try this one. Also, it's not overly long. It's very short for a fantasy, even it's 400 plus pages. So this one I hopefully can get to very soon. And then the other one is Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. So this is a Greek mythology retelling. As I said, I am currently reading The Children of Jocasta and I'm so enjoying that one that if I finish that one, I will probably want to pick up this one pretty quickly. And again, it's a standalone and it's very short. It's 300 plus pages, so even better. And I think that this one revolves around the sister of the Minotaur. So I know a little bit about it, but still, again, I'm going in blind. And I feel like for Greek mythology retellings or Norse mythology retellings, that's how I like it most of all, because then you can be surprised by what's happening and be invested in the characters because you don't know what's going to happen with them. So I am going to stay unknown about this one before I go in. But these are the 3 that I would like to get to before I have that video in December. The next question is there a book that could still shock you and become a favorite of this year? Now, I don't think so, because I've read quite a bit of Robin Hobb and The Realm of the Elderlings is my favorite series of all time. So I guess that my top 5 books are all Robin Hobb books, so no. On the other hand, I also think that this is a strange question, because either the book will shock me and then I wouldn't really think of it while answering this question, or I think that it's going to be a very good one and then it's not going to shock me. Anyway, I do think that Kings of Heaven by Richard Nell is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. And the first one, Kings of Paradise, and the second one, Kings of Ash, of this series, the Ash and Sand trilogy, have really blown me away and shocked me, even though I know that Steve over at Steve Talks Books and stuff really enjoyed this one, and Brandy's wife, same. These are their favorite books or favorite trilogy in the fantasy genre. So I already had the idea that it was going to be pretty good, but I still had that prejudice towards self-published, because this is my first self-published series that I picked up, that I thought like, okay, yeah, it's going to be fine, but nothing extraordinary. However, that second book is probably one of my favorites that I picked up this year besides Robin Hobb. So my hopes for this conclusion are quite high. And okay, at this point, it's not going to shock me if it's good, but I think it's going to be amazing. So this will probably be very high in my top 10 of the year, is what I'm thinking. But it would have shocked me. If you would have told this to me at the beginning of the year, I wouldn't have believed you. So even though I'm not shocked because it's already the third book, this one might still blow me away. And then the last question is, do you already have plans for next year? Now, yes, I do, because this is always what happens. I think that I don't really plan a lot, and then when I start thinking about it and looking at my schedule, I have. So first of all, what I have planned is reading the standalones in the first Law trilogy. So I think that this is the one that we need to read first of all, which is Best Served Cold. Please tell me if I'm wrong so I can update my schedule, but we are planning to read all 4, so the 3 standalones, and then I think that you have a short story collection, Sharp Ends, and we are going to read 1 book per month starting in January. I think that Steve is on board, and I also think that Stacey is going to join. So we are going to have some meetups at the end of the month. Very looking forward to that. Something else that I am planning and that I'm very looking forward to is that I am going to host a read-along for the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanderson, so the first book being Way of Kings. And we are going to read the 4 books that are currently out throughout 2022. So we're going to have 3 months time to finish 1 book, so that way we can do it really laid back, not being pressured to finish these chunky books in just 1 month. So that means that, for instance, Way of Kings we will read in January, February and March. And then at the end we will again have live discussions for each of the books. So already a couple of booktubers have decided to join me. I will do an announcement video probably in December somewhere, but I'm very looking forward to that because in 2023 the 5th book will be released, and that's basically the first arc. So I always want to, if it's that long of a series, I don't want to keep waiting for a new release to come out. But since the first 5 are a completed arc, I really want to get to this because at this point I have almost read everything by Brandon Sanderson in the Cosmere. So I really need to start with Stormlight Archive. And then the last read-along that I'm going to participate in, this is one that Evie is hosting, and that is for the Winternight trilogy by Catherine Arden. So I already read this trilogy. This is the first book, The Baron Nightingale, and it's one of my favorite series of all time, so I really wanted to reread it. Evie is going to host it, but a lot of other booktubers again are going to hop on, so really looking forward to that. And then the last thing that I'm going to do again with some booktubers is read Gardens of the Moon, so the first book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Stephen Erickson. So for this one I'm not going to commit myself to the entire series of 10 books. I'm going to start Gardens of the Moon. If I love it, I will continue with the series. If I don't, I will just drop off. Of course, this is a lot that I have already planned. It's with a lot of other booktubers, so I will link all of the channels and all of the information if you would want to participate down below. But yeah, those are my plans for 2022 already. The year is already packed. Like for Stormlight Archive, I already have a schedule until the end of 2022. I'm a little bit crazy like that, you could say. So those were my answers for the end of the year book tag. Please let me know what your answers are. Are you somebody who is waiting for new releases, or like me, do you think that there are already so many books out that you're not really looking for a new release or not waiting for it? Unless, of course, it's a favorite series and you really want to have that next installment. Let me know in the comments down below. And also let me know if you have a perfect book to transition towards the end of the year. As always, I hope that you enjoyed the video and see you next time. Bye!